I'm on. Okay, welcome back from lunch break. I hope all of you had a great, I hope all of you are having a great day at the Women in Tech Festival. So to introduce myself, I am Iba Masood. I am the co-founder and CEO of Terra. I am not Terra, as I get mistaken for several times. So today I'm here to talk about the woman and machine symbiosis. Let me correct the title there. And one of the things, I'm getting audience participation already. But one of the things, before I even go into my talk, I think it would be necessary for me to do a quick introduction. So I come from a very unconventional background. I'm originally from the Middle East. I only moved to the United States of America 2.5 years ago. And I'm going to be officially an immigrant in the next few months. But one of the things that I've been most passionate about over the last 5 years has been the field of recruiting. How do we eliminate bias from the field of recruiting? And how do you build intelligent algorithms that facilitate recruiting and then project management and other parts of our everyday workflow? And so I met my co-founder at university back home, just around in 2010. And when we started thinking around the field of recruiting and how we can build algorithms that start taking on parts of your everyday workflow. And so today I'm here to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, machine learning, what we do here at Terra, and what we're cognizant of in terms of the world of work and how we're going to see it transform over the next 10 years. So let's start with a quote. J.C.R. Licklider in 1960 penned a quote that he titled "The Man-Computer Symbiosis." So with the advent of artificial intelligence and machine learning, especially coming into our human psyche over the last, I would say, year or so, one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention is that this is an old concept. I mean, he penned this quote in 1960. And what he was thinking around was, how can man and machine work together to create positive and productive outcomes? So the hope is that in not too many years, human brains and computing machines will be coupled together very tightly, and that the resulting partnership will think as no human brain has ever thought and process data in a way not approached by the information handling machines we know today. And I think this is very relevant because over the last 15 years, we've seen that in the world of work, we are no longer working alone. Every day, we are constantly working with our mobile phones that are in our pockets, the little microprocessors, but not only that, with the desktops and laptops. And so machines have sort of pervaded into our lives pretty significantly, specifically in the field of work. So what do the next 5 or 10 years mean for us as employees? And how will things change with algorithms and machine learning entering into the picture? So to give you a bit of background, and how the new world of work is going to transform. Let's start with data aggregation. So the last 15 years of the internet have really been about data aggregation. If you think about the amount of data that is out there today, just about us as individuals, but also about organizations. And so what we're going to see is algorithms and machines will be going through this data and producing intelligent recommendations. So how do we, as people in everyday work, how do we use these intelligent recommendations to become better at our jobs, but then also be able to provide feedback loops into these machines? So most of today's algorithms and most of today's machine learning algorithms, how they typically work is that there's some layer of human curation involved. Think about image recognition algorithms. What typically happens is humans are consistently involved in that process in order to curate and let the machine know what is specifically a couch and what is identified as a dog. And so giving that level of human curation, how will machines think in the next 10 years? And then the other aspect is feedback loops are important because feedback loops enable machines in order to have a better understanding of what are positive or what are negative outcomes. So we as humans, we use feedback loops on a day-to-day basis. We get performance feedback from our managers or from people around us that, oh, maybe you should do X over Y. And we take that feedback into consideration and we change things accordingly. So machines are thinking the same way. And then what does that mean for tedious tasks? How will tedious tasks be handled by humans as well as machines? Are machines going to take over and do all of the tedious and manual tasks that we have to perform on a day-to-day basis? I mean, it's already sort of happening. I'm sure you've noticed that in your Gmail's already deciding what emails are relevant and what are not relevant. And so what we're going to see is that ML is going to become a ubiquitous layer. What that means is it's going to be a part of our everyday workflow without us even realizing it. And so what does that mean for us as humans? I think it's important for us to keep this as a part of the conversation, but also produce algorithms that are unbiased. That is important because if you're feeding in data on past successful outcomes, you have to make sure that those successful outcomes also involve unbiased data. And so, for example, if your average software engineer at your company has typically been white, male, and a Stanford CS grad, that does not mean that that is the entire ecosystem from which you should be recruiting. So, all of this data is important. And so, there we go. So, how I want you to think about this today is that it's not man versus machine, it's man and machine. How can we work together with machines in order to produce positive outcomes? So now I want to bring to your attention a few market dynamics that are pretty significant and surprising. Firstly, 50% of the workforce is going to be freelancing by the year 2020. That means organizations are going to have massive workforces that are contingency-based as well as full-time. But what we believe at Terra is that the next 20 to 40 years is going to showcase individuals that are working for multiple organizations at the same time, that are completing multiple projects at the same time. Today we call them freelancers, and today we call them, in some cases, entrepreneurs, but in the next 5 years, they're going to be a normal part of the everyday workforce and most likely are going to be way higher than 50%, i.e. most of an organization's employees will be freelancers. So the second thing that we think about at Terra pretty significantly is that 40% of software projects go over time and over budget. So this is a massive issue in software projects in general, where they're going over time, over budget. And so McKinsey did the study. They analyzed just over 5,000 of them. And they found that 40% of these projects were causing a loss of $66 billion. So these kind of statistics are really what led us to create Terra. And what I'd like to do today is introduce Terra to you and allow you to meet her. So what Terra does is that it's essentially an intelligent product builder. So it started as an algorithm. It was called Talent Acquisition and Recruiting Automation, i.e. TARA. And it was a set of unbiased algorithms that my co-founder and I created. And what we wanted to do, let's press it really hard. And nope. Oh, now we're going too fast. Okay, so moving back into what Terra does, it's essentially a product builder. And so using these unbiased algorithms, it's deciding who are the right software engineers to place into large organizations. But not only that, what is the right way to scope out the software project and then manage the workflow from end to end? So again, I have to go back. It's all good. So at Terra, what we're essentially doing is, let's take one of our customers, for example, Cisco. They have multiple different software projects running at any given point of time, and we want to assign developers who are contractors to these projects that may not necessarily be what they consider to be a good developer, because it's our recruiting algorithms that are deciding who these developers should be, and it's without bias because they're only based on that candidate's skill. Terra is not making decisions based on the candidate's last name, gender, where they're from, race, etc. And so once Terra decides which sort of contractors should be placed, then it starts to scope out the project and see what are the milestones and tasks that can be assigned to multiple different developers, and then manage the workflow end to end. And so what are the implications at different organizations? So today we have just over 50,000 contractors. Actually, I'm just going to, there we go. So we have just over 50,000 contractors in our network, and we're growing pretty rapidly. But one of the considerations that we have today are how are contractors going to affect multiple large workforces? How do we go from software engineering as our initial niche to other fields in terms of assigning contractors to those fields, automating some of those manual tasks, and also helping project managers and product managers in all of these different organizations make better decisions and get more visibility into projects. So some other aspects of our platform and some of the things we've been thinking about are timelines. What do successful projects look like? How long does it need to take to complete a recommendation engine or a data analytics project? As well as what are the ideal successful outcomes from those projects? And so there are a lot of considerations that are at play. But what's interesting is that as we move forward, firstly, artificial intelligence, machine learning, they're actually not new. They've been around for many years, and what we're seeing is that they're only entering into our consciousness because of that. We keep hearing it in media that AI is going to take our jobs, etc. But you have to think about the last 20 to 30 years when personal computing came into the field. That's what people thought about personal computing as well. They're like, I'm going to lose my job. I'm a typewriter. But what actually happened is the typewriter then basically started expanding in his or her field, and then started learning new skills, new tasks, and then could become a manager at an organization because they were able to use personal computers. So it's interesting that we're going to see within organizations there will be people that will say that will be resistant to change, but the fact of the matter is that AI is here and it's here to stay. And we see it every day on our phones, on any sort of devices that we're using all around. But the main thing is that what we believe is that machine learning and AI needs to enable positive outcomes. If there are some deficiencies that we have in terms of whether they're unconscious biases, whether they're internal shortcuts that we use to make quick decisions, then what algorithms should do is that they shouldn't be working from our past data. They should be working from data that is unbiased in nature and can essentially create these algorithms that are helping us as humans make better decisions. So imagine if the next day that when you're doing your recruiting or when you're deciding which individual you should be hiring in your next round, imagine that instead of tossing away a resume, an algorithm actually tells you that, I believe that this individual may not be from a background that you may consider for your organization, but factors have shown that diverse workforces actually lead to more successful outcomes. So having that level of data, I think, is important. And so what we do at Terra is we provide that level of visibility to our user base. And so customers are seeing efficiencies in terms of project outcomes, but as well as they're also seeing the advantages of using contingent and contractor workforces. Now, I'm going to go back here and try using it so that I can get to my concluding slide. Oh, there we go. It's working. So there are customers that are using us like Cisco, Orange Telecom, Ford. But to go back to what the future world of work looks like, algorithms and intelligent recommendation systems are going to be enabling us to improve our productivity. And and what we need to start thinking about is how do we utilize existing data? So data within our own organizations, every organization has massive repositories of data. And so how can algorithms use that past data to make better decisions in the future? And also to make your internal systems and tools more intelligent, but also what are the different factors to inter-organizational learning. So the next 3 to 4 years, what we're starting to think about at Terra is how do we enable the enterprise companies that are using us to also learn from each other in terms of projects that have gone well, projects that have been successful, and what were the outcomes from those projects. Now, we're specifically talking software engineering as a vertical in terms of the types of projects we're running, but we do see this being applied to other fields as well, like marketing, just about finance, accounting. And so, one of the things I want you to take away from this talk is that if you are a software engineer that is involved in building algorithms or machine learning, please try and think about unbiased data sets and build algorithms that enable positive outcomes. 1. 2, if you're an employee at an existing organization, start thinking about what are ways that I can improve my skills, learn more, and start to understand how will machine learning affect the world of work over the next few years. And thirdly, if you're a founder, what I think is important is that you need to build a diverse workforce because you are the decision makers of tomorrow. If your company IPOs or becomes public, you need to make sure that you're not making excuses like, oh, I don't have enough of a pipeline in terms of a female pipeline, or I don't have enough minority candidates in my pipeline. These are excuses. At the end of the day, there are over 6 billion people on Earth. There are enough candidates. And more people are learning how to code. And so it's important that you make decisions that impact the workforce as well as your organization. And just one person can make the difference. Remember, in terms of my background, I didn't go to a fancy school. I do not traditionally come from the background that you would expect from a venture-backed startup founder, and I dealt with a lot of problems initially when I first came. And I came to America with, no joke, $500 in my pocket. So I can absolutely tell you without a doubt that all of us have the power to make a difference. And I'll be here until later evening if you'd like to talk machine learning, algorithms, being a founder, or just about anything. Thank you so much.